My name is Hannah, and I work with 240 to help teachers pass their certification exams. And today, I'm going to help you. This video is going to prepare you for the Praxis Core Reading exam. That's test code 5713. This video is going to cover three things: what's on the test and how it's structured, the most likely concepts that will be on the test, and we're going to look at a few practice questions. Ready? Let's go. Now, the Praxis Core Reading exam consists of 56 total questions that come from three overarching categories. The categories are key ideas and details, craft, structure, and language skills, and integration of knowledge and ideas. Each category has an outline of what to expect, but as you'll see in just a minute, they're still pretty overwhelming. Thankfully, we've taken care of the research for you. We have everything you need in our study guide. But we'll go ahead and talk about some need-to-knows right now. Oh, and before we dive into Category 1, I want to mention that this is a passage-based exam. This means that you'll read passages of various lengths and answer questions related to that passage. Sometimes you'll see one question per passage, and other times, multiple questions will be tied to the same passage or set of passages. Okay, on to Category 1. The first category we'll look at is key ideas and details. It's worth 35% of your exam. You'll see anywhere between 17 and 22 questions on your test from this section. The big things you're going to see here include identifying the main idea and primary purpose, supporting ideas, and inferences. First things first. Anytime you are given a passage, you will want to identify the main idea and the primary purpose. In every reading, these are two key takeaways that will help your understanding of the text. Let's go over the differences. A main idea is the central point of the passage. It might be clearly stated, or you might need to infer it. A primary purpose is why the author wrote the work. You often have to infer this. Now, you'll definitely see questions that ask you about this directly, but for every passage, it's usually the best first step. Determining the main idea and primary purpose will help you fully analyze the text and prepare you to answer other types of questions about it, like questions about supporting ideas. You like that little segue I did there? Supporting ideas are specific, focused arguments or details that support the main idea of a passage. What are the best ways to identify supporting ideas? I'm so glad you asked. Find the specific reference in the passage and reread it. This is often presented as a noun in the question. What is said about it? A common distractor is the main idea of the entire passage. Remember, supporting idea questions are much more focused. Eliminate anything not directly stated in the passage. You are not inferring or drawing a conclusion here. We'll talk about that next. And also, make sure to eliminate anything contradicting the main idea of the passage. Last one in this category, inferences. When you make an inference, you form an idea about the passage using statements and facts directly given. This is also known as an educated guess. We have plenty of tips about how to do this in the study guide, but I'm going to go ahead and let you in on one now, and it's a good one. Ask yourself why the author wrote the passage. If the author has an opinion about the subject, what is it? If you understand how the author feels about the subject, you are on your way to understanding what they imply. All right, those are the key ideas and important details about the key ideas and details objective. Now let's head over to Category 2. The craft, structure, and language skills category makes up about 30% of your exam, or between 14 and 19 questions total. In this category, you're going to work with attitude and tone, organization and structure, meaning of words, and fact and opinion. That may sound like a lot, because it is, but we have plenty of practice for you in our 240 study guide. The study guide contains instructional content, including text, videos, and flashcards, all tailored to the framework of this exam. There are also lots of passage-based practice questions, including a full-length practice test. Right now, though, I'm ready to talk to you about your attitude. Just kidding. But we do need to discuss how to identify an author's attitude. How authors feel about the subject they are writing about often comes out in their work. Let's take a look at how descriptive language can help us identify an author's attitude. The aroma of roasted Brussels sprouts drifted through the house. In this sentence, we can assume that the author enjoys eating Brussels sprouts based on the word choice of aroma and drifted. Both these words have a positive connotation. Let's look at another. The stench of roasted Brussels sprouts overwhelmed the house. The second sentence uses stench and overwhelmed, which feels negative, and we can assume the author does not like Brussels sprouts. It's a negative connotation. How do you feel about Brussels sprouts? Personally, I'm a big fan, especially with some bacon and balsamic, but I digress. Let's move on to organization and structure. You'll likely need to recognize how an author organizes their writing and why. When we analyze organization, we're identifying how the author constructs the passage or how paragraphs relate to one another. Sometimes the key is to focus on the order in which the material in the passage is presented. Sequential order is an orderly progression of events, ideas, or steps. Authors often use sequential order when they explain a process. Chronological order is an orderly progression of events based on time. This is typically used when an author walks us through a particular period in history. Sometimes, authors arrange their writing by order of importance, by starting or ending the writing piece with the most important claim. Look for terms like most importantly near the top or bottom of the page. Spatial order is an arrangement of ideas related to physical space. Authors may use this technique when they keep ideas together based on geography. Authors may also organize their writing by logic and reasoning. When authors organize their writing by cause and effect, they describe an event and follow the description with possible outcomes. Ask yourself, did the author explain what would happen after something else occurred? Problem and solution is a type of organization in which the author poses a problem and then provides answers or ideas about how to solve it. Claim and refutation is a type of organization in which the author argues against a statement, fact, or claim. Look for the author to provide a statement, use however or in fact, and then provide counterarguments to identify this type of organization. Compare and contrast is a type of organization in which the author provides similarities and differences about two ideas. For example, pros and cons. Ready to check out the meaning of words portion of this category? Ooh, we've got a great video on this in our guide. Let's take a look.
You can also use syntactic or semantic clues to determine the meaning of a word. Think about the placement of a given word in the sentence. Is it a verb? Adjective. Let's practice this with an example. My ornery big brother yelled at me when I walked in front of the TV while he was playing video games. In this sentence, a reader who recognizes that the word ornery is an adjective used to describe the author's big brother could then use the context clue yelled at me to infer that ornery means something negative. Another strategy is to try to read the phrase of the passage and substitute in each answer choice you are provided. Which one makes the most sense? Let's try it out with the sentence we just saw. We already determined that ornery must mean something negative based on how it's used in the sentence. Let's substitute in our choices and see which one works the best. My brave big brother yelled at me. That doesn't make much sense. My dynamic big brother yelled at me. That doesn't work. My considerate big brother yelled at me. That's an obvious wrong choice we can eliminate. My ill-tempered big brother yelled at me. That makes sense, and it's definitely the best choice to pick.
So helpful, right? This is just one of the many all-star tutors we've got in our guide. Our team is here to help you prepare and pass. And right now, I'm going to help you know what to expect for the fact or opinion portion of this category. Let's talk about opinions. Sometimes the author will directly let you know they're stating an opinion. Look for phrases like, I believe, or I think. Opinions use qualifying words or terms. Qualifiers modify the meaning of the words they come before or after by limiting it or enhancing them. Some examples are very, usually, always, and never. Let's look at some examples. It's my belief that lack of sleep disturbs the body's digestive processes. The author directly tells us this statement is a belief, not a fact. Van Gogh is by far the greatest painter of his time. By far the greatest is a qualifying phrase that modifies the relative quality of Van Gogh. This is how the author feels about Van Gogh and can't be proven. The benefits from vitamins and minerals in fruits far outweigh the negatives of their sugar content. The phrase far outweigh modifies the magnitude of the benefits. Kids never love broccoli. The use of the word never makes the statement an opinion. While kids are known to be picky eaters, there are definitely some who love broccoli. First Brussels sprouts, now broccoli. This script writer must really want us to make sure we're getting our vegetables in. That's it for category 2. Last category on the list is integration of knowledge and ideas. Just like the first category, this one makes up 35% of your exam, which equates to 17 to 22 questions. You'll see questions about diverse media and formats, evaluation of arguments, and analysis and comparison of texts. Clear as mud? Let's dig in some more. Diverse media and formats means that you'll need to interpret texts that include visual representations. These are things like charts and graphs. Not too bad, right? The evaluation of arguments portion of this category is all about analyzing evidence, determining assumptions, and drawing conclusions. Let's put some tips in our back pocket for drawing conclusions from a passage. Your conclusion must logically follow the information from the passage. Stay within the scope of the passage. Make sure your answer choice doesn't take part of the logical conclusion and twist it further than what the original passage intends. Try it out by inserting the conclusion you've selected to the end of the passage. Ask yourself, does it flow? Watch out for qualifying words like best or only in choices. These often limit or make the conclusion false. We'll have a chance to apply these tips in just a bit with a practice question. But right now, let's talk about one more portion of this category. When analyzing and comparing texts, you'll need to recognize similar ideas and situations, apply ideas to other situations, and recognize points of agreement and disagreement between two texts. You're likely to see paired passages for a portion of this section of the test. This means you'll work with two passages to answer questions instead of just one. And that's it. We've gone through all the categories. Now that we've gone over some of the big concepts in our 3 areas, let's look at some practice questions to show you how those concepts can appear on the test. If you want a lot of practice questions, you can click the free practice test below. At the end, you get a score report on how well you did on the test. Now, for questions. Just like you'll do on the real exam, let's read a passage and then answer questions about it. Take a moment to pause this video and read the passage. Since it's always a good place to start, let's answer a question about the main purpose of this passage. The author's main purpose in the selection is A. To explain the importance of the compass. B. To introduce the tools that made the age of exploration a success. C. To discuss Spain's influence on exploration. Or D. To describe the age of exploration. Now, at first I thought D was the correct answer, but I can see with the study guide's real-time feedback that I need to try again. B is definitely the one we want. Although the author does mention the age of exploration, the majority of the passage is spent discussing the tools of exploration. Ready to make an inference? According to the information presented in the selection, it is reasonable to infer that which technology was least helpful to sailors during this period. The author never directly states this, but we can infer that maps were the least helpful to sailors because the author does let us know that maps were not always accurate and were often written during the course of the exploration. We made a logical leap there. Okay, now let's determine the meaning of a word from the passage. Which of the following best defines the word unparalleled? Perpendicular, groundbreaking, revolution, or minimal? Remember, the context matters. Think to yourself, where was unparalleled used? Why did the author use it? Choice B is best. Overall, the author is conveying that the age of exploration brought a new world of technologies. Therefore, the success would be new, groundbreaking, unparalleled. Last up is drawing a conclusion. Which of the following conclusions is best supported by the passage? Your conclusion should be a logical summary of the passage. The main idea here is to express to the reader why 15th century exploration was a success. Multiple technologies are listed and described, which makes D the best choice. Choice A is a direct contradiction of what the passage says, and both A and C focus too narrowly on only one piece of technology. Choice B, while possibly historically accurate, cannot be verified with the information given in the passage. Conclusions should always be based on what is directly supported by the text. Whew. Now that's just a small sliver of practice questions to give you an idea about how these concepts are assessed on the test. There is still plenty more to learn. If you really want to make sure you're prepared for the Praxis Core Reading exam, take the next step and subscribe to the 240 Study Guide. It is hours of videos, so you can watch or listen while doing chores. It's test aligned with hundreds of practice questions, so you know precisely what you need to study. And it has the money back guarantee. So click the link below right now to get started.